समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
The Prime Minister turns 75 today, and I know since the morning you've been getting gyan from the real gyanis of Indian politics. I cannot add very much to that because many of them know much better than me. What I'm trying to do is, because we only try to cut the clutter in this show, I'm giving you 12 headline points first of the ways in which he has transformed India's politics. Remember, I didn't say India's economy, I didn't say India's strategic positioning, I didn't say India's society, I said India's politics. Although politics, what is politics? Politics comes from identity, which is society, which is religion, caste, ethnicity, language, things like that. Politics also comes from economy. Politics also comes from where India is positioned and how secure people feel. From all of this, we have distilled, with the help of DK Singh, our political editor, 12 points. All of these we will tell you very briefly, hopefully, crisply. Just list them for you and then elaborate on these one by one, again as briefly as possible. So here we go. Number one. Point number one, BJP has replaced Congress party now as India's preeminent pan-Indian party. Forever it was the Congress party. Number two, BJP is no longer an upper caste Baniya party. It has now become a broad-based party which gets votes from everybody except the minorities. Number three, under Narendra Modi, Hindutva has become the main axis or reference points of Indian politics. So everybody has to then define themselves vis-a-vis Hindutva or vis-a-vis the Hindu vote. Number four, foreign policy has fully become an extension of domestic politics. The two are no longer kept apart from each other or insulated. Number five, welfarism, what is also called populism, has now been taken to an entirely different level. Number six, Congressification of the BJP, the high command culture is almost complete. It's back to the era of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi in the Congress party. Number seven, the BJP no longer is a party with a difference. Under Advani and Vajpayee, it came to be a party with a difference, not now. It not only accepts defectors, but actually carries out mass defections in other parties, Operation Kamal, and also runs a sizable laundering operation. A laundering operation leading to political acceptability. We'll talk about this in detail as we go along. Number eight, we now have our most polarized politics. Most polarized politics and society. In Hindu-Muslim terms, yes. Beyond that, however, even within the political system, between the ruling party and the opposition, it's never been more polarized than it is now. Number nine, RSS has been brought firmly to the center stage. It's now a mainstream organization. No social or cultural organization ever has had as much power and as much legitimacy as the RSS now. Number 10, Narendra Modi in these 11 years has expanded the party to unfamiliar areas where people did not imagine BJP will become so strong. West Bengal, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and now slowly looks like in Kerala as well. Number 11, the economic growth has been maintained between 6 to 6.5%. Now, given the benefit of compounding, it looks like quite sizable. I would argue that India could have done better, but 6 to 6.5%, and some unconventional models of political economy have emerged, which we will talk about as we go into more details. Number 12, it's easy but lazy to conclude that this is just a Narendra Modi Amit Shah party. The fact is that in these 11 years, the party has built an entirely new line of leadership. These are besides the leaders that already existed. Now, leaders like Rajnath Singh, Nitin Gadkari, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, they preceded Narendra Modi. They are in the cabinet. Two of them had been party president as well. So they already were there. But after that, in these 11 years, the HR achievement of the BJP has been the creation of another line of front runners. And these include Amit Shah, Yogi Adityanath, Devendra Fadnavis, Himanta Biswa Sarma, and you can see that in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, some more people are coming up. There's Naib Singh Saini in Haryana as well. So a new line of leaders has been created. These are the 12 points. Now we will go into some of these in detail. Now back to point number 1. Why do we say that BJP has now replaced Congress as the preeminent pan-India party? BJP now has its own chief ministers in 14 states, 1-4. 14 states, plus in many other states besides, in 5 others, that is states and union territories, either the BJP has the deputy chief minister or a member of cabinet, where it might have very small numbers. These are Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Meghalaya, Nagaland and Puducherry. That is 19 out of the 36 states and union territories in India. 28 states and 8 union territories. That is quite a dominant position now. The BJP has no MLA in Sikkim, but doesn't matter. The ruling party there, Sikkim Krantikari Morcha, which has swept everything, it's part of the NDA. We've also seen since the 2024 elections, after BJP fell short, BJP became a little risk averse in terms of exposing the Prime Minister in election campaigns as the face of the party. So while they avoided doing that, in spite of that, the party has won some state elections, particularly Haryana and then Maharashtra. That makes the point that BJP has grown beyond Narendra Modi to an extent, which means the growth of the party is also organic. That's a very important point. Headline number 2, what used to be an upper caste Baniya party, there's a history to that. And that's the history that Seshadri Chari, who's our columnist, who's close to the RSS, who used to be the editor of Organizer, which is an RSS-linked publication, he's been telling me for a long time, that look, Congress party is making a big mistake by calling the BJP a Hindu party, because Congress party also needs Hindu votes. Why do they call the BJP a Hindu party? And he says if Rahul Gandhi only checked out how his grandmother dealt with the Janasangh. Janasangh was the parent of the BJP. She never called Janasangh, he says, a Hindu party because she valued the Hindu vote. She wasn't going to cede her Hindu vote to the Jansangh. She wasn't going to gift it away to Jansangh. So she always called Jansangh a Baniya party. Now, all right, Baniya community also supported the Jansangh, RSS, BJP, they still do, but Baniyas are scattered. They are a very small percentage of Hindu population and they are scattered across the country. So they do not count for anything decisively, even maybe in one constituency in India. So it was a risk that she could afford to take. And that label stuck to the BJP because she also used it to then paint it into other caste stereotypes to do with the Baniyas. That BJP has now completely gotten over. It's now a broad-based party. It gets votes from all castes, upper castes, of course, those are its default voters, but it also gets a lot of OBCs. Prime Minister Modi himself is OBC, but it has also begun getting votes from many Dalits as well. And that we have seen very clearly evidenced in Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, for example, because without that, the party would not have done this well in those states. So that's a big shift in the BJP. Going ahead, this transition will become even more pronounced as the Modi government pushes onwards with caste census as well. Third headline was how Hindutva has now become the main axis or reference point of national politics. Every political party now, including the Congress party, now have to appeal to the Hindu voter. First of all, to say, I'm not anti-Hindu. That wasn't a pressure they faced in the past, that I'm not anti-Hindu. So everybody has to project being Hindu, they have to go to temples, and they are forced to take certain positions they might not have taken in the past. For example, if you looked at the original Sabrimala judgment from the court, the default secular approach of the Congress party would have been to go along with that because that was bringing in gender equality. Rahul Gandhi initially came up with that reaction, but soon enough, the party itself in Kerala distanced itself from that, and then the Congress party even centrally distanced itself from that and decided to go along with Hindu sentiment there. Similarly, say the Ayodhya judgment. See how every party has responded to the Ayodhya judgment. Why? Because every party now has to see Hindu vote at the center stage. And everybody then is redefining and refining their politics according to this new imperative. That is a big political change. Even the left once again apply the Sabrimala test to the left, because the left has the government in Kerala. Could they have enforced? They did not even try to enforce that earlier Supreme Court order. It's a different matter that in the course of time, the Supreme Court also walked back on that order. But that also is evidence of the point we are making, that India's politics now has become much more Hindu-centric than before. In fact, it has become now predominantly Hindu-centric. And you will see some of this play out as politics unfolds over the next couple of years, particularly say Assam elections. Congress party now finds it so difficult to be seen to be partnering Badruddin Ajmal in Assam, just as they have to keep themselves distant from Asaduddin Owaisi. Bihar election, that question will come up again. That is the big difference that Modi politics has made in these 11 years. Which brings us to our fourth point, that is foreign policy having become an extension of domestic politics. Now, this is not to say that foreign policy was not used in domestic politics earlier. Mrs. Gandhi used it, Rajiv Gandhi used it, Rajiv Gandhi held the Festival of India in the US. Mrs. Gandhi, that is Indira Gandhi, she used her non-aligned summit, non-aligned movement, etc. to show that she was respected internationally or globally, or at least one part of the world. And when there was a big foreign policy success, 1971 Bangladesh war or 1999 Kargil war, then the government of the day took advantage of it in domestic politics. But the actions in foreign policy and foreign strategic policy, they were not suborned to domestic policy. Some of this we can see in how politics has played out post Operation Sindoor. Now, Modi government did not announce in time that they had agreed to Pakistan's request for ceasefire. It so happened that Donald Trump jumped the gun and he announced it. As he announced it, immediately Modi government was hit by criticism from Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party. Modi government, instead of taking a deep breath, separating the larger national interest or larger international policy, strategic policy interest from domestic politics, immediately focused on rebutting Rahul Gandhi or rubbishing Rahul Gandhi, even at the risk of annoying Donald Trump, which is precisely what happened. See how the Pakistanis played. On the other hand, now obviously it's not possible, nor is it necessary, nor is it wise, and nor is it justified for any Indian government to accept any mediation in India-Pakistan issues, particularly when it comes to issues like Kashmir. But when it comes to terrorism, when it comes to conflict situations, global powers have always come and leaned on the Pakistanis. In this case also, if somebody had responded patiently and separating foreign policy from domestic politics, then a different approach could have been thought of, which is to tell Donald Trump, we note that you've drummed some sense into the Pakistanis' heads and they asked for ceasefire, otherwise we were going to break their heads. Right? That would have been quite all right. You could have also suffixed that maybe with a thank you for doing this. However, such was the urgency to address the concerns in domestic politics that this was forgotten, and this had its consequences, and it did cause some damage, and that damage is still being repaired happily now by both sides together. But this only happened because now foreign policy is subservient to domestic politics. Point number 5, welfarism to another level. We've seen direct benefit transfers. 80 crore people, almost 80 crore, maybe a few more than that, are getting free food grain every month, 5 kilos per head. That's a lot of food grain that the government buys at minimum support price. So it subsidizes the farmer on the one end, then pays the storage and transport costs and gives it away free to 80 crore plus people. That is the largest welfare program in the world, maybe in the history of the world. Add to that lots of other DBT, direct benefit transfer schemes, and this has now become a humongous welfare economics. And then other parties have taken the cue. So see what the Congress did in Karnataka, what they did later in Telangana, Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi, Aam Aadmi Party in Punjab, Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal, Bias Jagan Mohan Reddy and Chandrababu Naidu in Andhra Pradesh. Everybody has taken the cue. Welfarism has now become even more central to national politics than identity. And if I may be given the liberty to play with words a little bit, welfarism has become the one ideology that is common to all parties in these greatly ideologically polarized times. Point number 6, what do we mean by congressization of the BJP? We are only referring to one particular point, and this is a very important one. That is a high command run party. The BJP was not a high command run party. In fact, no party in India was high command run except the Congress party among the major parties. It was at its peak in the Indira Gandhi era, then under Rajiv Gandhi as well. Then the Prime Minister was also the party president. Party president, CWC, was not elected or was completely in control of the party president, and party president took a call on everything, including the hiring and firing of chief ministers, etc., etc. Even after Rajiv Gandhi, Narasimha Rao, although he did not have a majority, he continued to be party president and tried to use the same high command culture. In fact, I was present in Tirupati in the AICC session of 1992 when Narasimha Rao held a CWC election and everybody thought the party was changing. By the end of the day, that election had been cancelled and Narasimha Rao was nominating his own CWC. After Narasimha Rao, in any case, Congress party never became so powerful. So this question disappeared, the high command culture. However, the BJP as a party was very distinct. That was not high command run like the Congress party. A good example of that is something from which Narendra Modi actually benefited immensely. That is in 2002, after Gujarat riots, Mr. Vajpayee, everybody knows, he wanted the chief minister to go. He wanted Narendra Modi to go. That's when he went to Gujarat and reminded him of his Raj Dharma. But then leaders like Advani and others were able to come together and defy Vajpayee and get him to change that decision. That status no longer exists in this BJP now. This BJP has become as high command run, as strongly high command run and dominated as the Congress party was under Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. In fact, this BJP is so completely high command controlled that they are continuing on with a party president who's gone way beyond his tenure, and there still isn't much talk or discussion on his successor. Point number 7, we'll keep it brief, that this is no longer a party with a difference. BJP is a party that did not like defectors. BJP is a party which had a strong moralistic view on those who might have been involved in corruption. Under this political dispensation, all of that is gone. Now the BJP party runs a laundromat. So somebody who its own agencies might have charged with corruption cases, if they defect, if they join the party, they come out of the laundromat and they become clean. And we've seen that happening across the country in state after state. Not just that, not only has the BJP given up its aversion to defectors, it has actually used mass defection as a key element of its strategy. It is also defined as Operation Kamal. I don't need to elaborate any further on that. Point number 8, that we now have our most polarized politics in society. I need not give you any more evidence than to say, look at the Assam BJP Twitter handle today and look at some of the stuff they are putting out. It's quite evident that all votes are being sought against one community, and it's also being communicated to that community that the BJP has no expectation or no need of their votes. That is a polarization as complete as you can see. However, in addition to that, there is a different kind of polarization, which is polarization between the ruling party and the opposition. At the worst of times, Indian leaders in power, have consulted their opposition leaders. Narasimha Rao famously asked Atal Bihari Vajpayee to go to Geneva to lead India's delegation at the UN Human Rights Convention to avoid a resolution against India on Kashmir. And Salman Khurshid, who was the junior minister, agreed to go as deputy to Vajpayee. On their return, they celebrated it together. I was covering that story for India Today. I even persuaded them to get together, in this case at Vajpayee's place. So Salman Khurshid went to Vajpayee's place and they hugged each other for a cover picture. Is such a thing possible today or likely today? I don't think so. I don't think the opposition is consulted anywhere before taking any major decision. And this has traveled across all parties. So it's not as if where Congress is in power, other parties are in power in states, they consult their opposition very much either. If at all something happens, it's like a Naam Ka Vaste all-party meeting where the Prime Minister may or may not come in. We saw that happen after Operation Sindoor as well. That's a big change. Number nine, the RSS is moved to center stage. Metaphorically, physically, realistically, politically. Everything the RSS chief says now is a national story. He just spoke in Delhi. It was a front page story all 3 days and a major story all 3 days. How significant he is, you will also know in another week or so when the Shera comes, because then he delivers his the Shera speech. That's almost become like a State of the Union address. Everybody looks up to it. Physically, the RSS was locked away in faraway Nagpur, in a very sprawling but a very modest campus. I've been there. It's a very modest campus. People live very simply. See the building that they built for themselves, a new headquarters in Delhi. This is in the heart of Indian politics. This is the big change. In fact, that building itself symbolizes this big shift of the mainstreaming of the RSS in India's politics. Point number 10 is something that you know very well, that he has expanded the party to completely unfamiliar areas, West Bengal, Telangana now, Andhra in partnership with TDP, and it is making inroads into Kerala as well. Until now, until he came in, the BJP's presence in the south was confined only to Karnataka. It had failed to make any breakthrough anywhere. Now that is changing. The gains in West Bengal are quite substantive, and you know what? We have to think about small states of the northeast. BJP may not have much presence there. They now rule Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura, have a majority in Manipur, although the assembly is right now suspended, have a deputy chief minister in Nagaland. They are not the majority party, but have a deputy chief minister in Nagaland, have a minister in Meghalaya. So these are all non-traditional areas of the BJP. That's the reason for us. The 10th headline in the political change that Modi has brought about in these 11 years is this, that he has expanded the BJP's reach to unfamiliar areas where it was not expanded to establish itself. Point number 11, economic growth rate has been maintained between 6 to 6.5%. Now, if you see the previous 10 years of the UPA, economic growth rate was a bit higher than this. Expectation would have been that under Narendra Modi, the growth will go higher. All right, there was one pandemic year, but there was also a very smart recovery the following year. Given the low base of Indian politics and given the fact that a lot of reform had taken place even earlier, some more could have been done. But we have seen that while Modi has carried out some substantive reform, GST is a reform, the bankruptcy process is a reform, bank consolidation is a reform, but some of the other reforms it has shied away from, and these include farm reforms and labor reforms, because given its majority for 2 terms, this risk could have been taken. If that was done, maybe this 6.5% growth would have been 7.5%, maybe even 8% growth. We know that the global growth has been low, but given India's low base and given India's potential and the work that had already been done, the foundation that had already been laid, India could have done better than what it has done so far. However, India's fiscal discipline has been excellent under Modi governments. Inflation is very much in control. Interest rates are low. All of those are pluses. We've also seen some interesting indications in political economy. So first of all, on the private sector. So once again, if the expectation was that Modi government will come and they will start privatizing the public sector, and he had also said a few times, he said in Parliament, it's not the business of government to be in business. So the expectation was that he will privatize some PSUs. He hasn't done so except Air India, none of the others. However, while he is averse to privatizing what the government already owns, he is quite open to letting the private sector come into areas which had been the government's monopolies. Notably in this case, defense manufacture. The opening up of defense sector to private sector is a big change. that will have implications not just for India's economy, but also India's strategic strength and positioning. There is another very interesting indication that we've got on political economy in these 11 years. That is that on the one hand, you give tax breaks to the super rich, which means corporates. So corporates now pay a much lower tax rate. At the same time, middle class rates are high, and the middle class and the upper middle classes in particular not only pay high income tax rates, but they also pay a lot of GST, which is all right. Everybody who consumes pays GST. It's becoming less now. But also what you pay on your fuel. So even while fuel prices have fallen, and this is something we've talked about in the past, fuel prices have fallen, those benefits are not passed on to fuel users, which is mostly the middle class. So in the Modi way of thinking, the middle class voter can be taken for granted, because where will the middle class, mostly Hindu voter go? Ultimately, they might curse you, they might abuse you, but when it comes to when they come to the polling booth, they will say Rahul Gandhi or Narendra Modi. Chances are that they will go with Narendra Modi. That's why this BJP thinks it can take the Hindu middle class for granted, and that's how this new economics has emerged, whereby you can collect these humongous taxes from the middle class, mostly Hindu middle class, and use this money not to take it home, but use this money to distribute it to the poor by way of free food grain or any of the other direct benefit transfer schemes. Of course, what you take home is the vote, but this is also a key element in this new political economy. And finally, we come to the HR point. Now look at the BJP. When Modi came to power, the BJP had a bunch of leaders who were his challengers. L.K. Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi. There were some others with ambitions. Sushma Swaraj, maybe Arun Jaitley, couple of the others. Two of them had actually been party presidents in the past. Nitin Gadkari and Rajnath Singh, who had been party president twice before that. There was also Venkaiah Naidu. All of these titans had existed. Now some of them are around. Rajnath Singh is there, Nitin Gadkari is there, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, multiple times Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, he's there. They are in the Union Cabinet. The rise of those three cannot be credited to the Modi era. However, look at the new line of leadership that has emerged under his watch. Amit Shah being the topmost among them, but there is Amit Shah, there is Yogi Adityanath, Devendra Fadnavis, Himanta Biswa Sarma. So what's happening in the BJP is that a new line of future leaders is emerging, and a kind of silent process of primaries has already started within the BJP, each one trying to position himself as the best alternative to the base, to the party's base, because they've all learned from Narendra Modi between 2002 and 2013 that for you to aspire for power in India through the BJP, you first have to win the base in the BJP. That's not very different from what's happening in America right now. Everybody wants the MAGA base. Nobody can shake Trump in the Republican Party because he's got the MAGA base with him. That's the base of the Republican Party now. Similarly, in India, these four leaders are also now doing their own things, saying their own things to appeal to the same base of the BJP and RSS.